we've got Carmax disaster. Dealer lots are overflowing. So let's talk about this. This is huge. Carmax, Carvana, those big, huge corporate chains, I'll tell you, they drove up the prices of used vehicles. They wanted to outbuy everybody. And during the last, 3 years, and mostly the last 2 years, because we'll remove the very beginning of being, forced indoors, and we'll also remove the last 6 months to a year because a lot has changed in a year. But they're all about buying at the absolute highest price, but then reselling for a ridiculously high price. Thank you, M. Peugeot. We can start the show. You're here. So thank you for making it. Thank you, everyone, for making it. And if you watch these as mini episodes afterwards, please don't forget like and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell notification so you don't miss any of this. Don't be fooled. Must know information. So there's some really good information that we've got to cover here. We've got Carmax, and their lots are unbelievably overflowing. And they brought this upon themselves. They really tried to corner the market, or we could say own the market. And now the tides have turned, and it tells you a lot about getting a good price. And we'll talk about how to get a good price, but now is not the worst time ever to buy a vehicle. Unless, there's a few clauses. It's very true for one specific category of car purchases. So we'll cover all that later on in the live, or if you're watching this as a mini episode, catch it on, the left or right at the end when it proposes you another episode. So yes, car dealer lots, it's not just Carmax. Almost every used lot that has at least an average level of success has their lot filled. And I mean really, really filled. I don't know how, but we went from having next to no vehicles to having too many vehicles. Now, some will see this as a sign and say, well, look, if the lots are filled, it must be, the worst time ever to buy. Well, that's falling in line with a logical fallacy called, and I forgot the Latin term, but appeal to majority. You look at the majority, what are the majority doing? And you assume that whatever the majority are doing, well, that's where the truth is. And that's just not the case. When lots are empty, the general impression was, wow, there's so few cars. It's got to be an amazing time to buy. I've got to buy now. And what was going on 2 years ago? 1 and 2 years ago?
Yeah, for sure. When you don't have that much car to sell, you can set it at the price that you want, and customer needs to take it with that price and cannot negotiate.
That's right. No negotiation, boosted up prices, and Carmax, Carvana, the whole huge corporate gang, they wanted to treat auto sales like you treat the stock market when you're a multi-billionaire and have multi-billionaire friends. You don't do insider trading. You just happen to all listen to the same individual, coincidentally. And essentially when that individual tells you it's time to sell or to buy, well, you kind of do it as a group. And this causes the market to go way up. Or in the case of the stock market, it can also sometimes go way down. But based on a certain plan now, these big corporations bought up all sorts of cars. And if you remember, it was pretty popular on YouTube to go, 2 years ago, to go to Carmax, go to Carvana, and be like, let's check out what type of trade-in value I've got on my, and whatever it was, a Jeep Wrangler, a Bronco, a Toyota RAV4, a Honda CR-V, any model of Mazda, a Ford. It was very popular. And these were videos getting tons of hits, and people were really excited, like, wow, Carmax, Carvana, they're giving great prices. But the flip side of that is they're asking really high prices. So we're not where we were we're not where we were in the last 3 years. As a result, big corporations like this, they owned the market, they cornered the market, and they're part of the problem of, part of the whole problem and reason why used prices went up. They made it so that so many dealers were so hungry for inventory that they tried to outbid these really high bids. Often, Carmax and Carvana were offering, 2, 3, 4. I've even seen 5,000 more than what new automobile manufacturers were offering for the used vehicle, because it just didn't make sense. But no proof, but it almost seems like they had a plan to corner the market. One way or another, that's the result that we ended up with. So car values went up, and that's really great if you were trading in. So Carmax buying up used vehicles made the US market so hungry that every single Canadian trade in could have been sold to the USA for a higher price. And generally, used dealer lots dried up and made the used trade-in and wholesale market highly competitive. So both wholesale, so that's, at the auction houses, as well as, every single dealer, they're just fighting for used trades, especially when you consider that there were less to no new vehicles to sell. So dealers needed these used vehicles to survive. Carmax knew it, Carvana knew it, the other big huge corporations knew it, and they wanted to get these used vehicles. They had to survive too. And remember, 2 years ago, interest rates were actually pretty darn low. They're extremely low. 2 and 3 years ago, used rates and just overall rates were historically low, with historic highs, 20 in the 20 percentile going back to the 1980s. So there's a big however here. I can almost say the first big but of the night. However, 1 year ago, the market started to change and new vehicle supply went way up, except for Toyota and Honda, a little asterisk, like when you use steroids, but you win something major in baseball. So asterisks here, Toyota and Honda, who have record production, so higher production than they've ever had. They're in their best years for producing vehicles, but are not supplying the North American market as much or the same ratio as before, causing some dealers, and I'll say many dealers, to still have markups and forced added accessories and forced services. This is at Toyota and Honda. Generally, the market production went up, and now there's too much inventory, and prices and interest rates have come down. Mind you, companies like Toyota and Honda have very high interest rates. We'll get to that on the episode for, Toyota and Honda, and how buyers are kind of screwed over there at Toyota and Honda. But great products. We'll talk about that. So a year ago, the market really did start to change. Inventories really started to go up. So now with the market changing, this has resulted in used lots slowly going from empty to completely overflowing. It's not just Carmax. And I want to give a little shout out here to someone I think does a fantastic job. Brandon from Car Questions Answered did a great job of pointing out that Carmax, their problem is that they do not want to drop prices. So let's get to that. I've been on the same image for far too long. So come on over here, and at the 3:05 mark, I recommend that you watch this video. This is a fantastic video. Really puts in perspective what's going on at Carmax. So let's play this, make sure the volume's not too loud.
They didn't mention any other names, but what they're saying is Carvana. They did some fire sales, they slashed some prices. Carmax did not want to do that. What they want to do is they want to keep their prices higher. For longer, they want to keep their margins up. RAV4s, looking for RAV4s. Got one right here. Awesome. I don't see a sticker on it. Alright, no sticker. We'll find one. So if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, put down in the comments, tell me why. And if there's something I could...
And yes, do subscribe to his channel, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel as well. So, he makes a really good point here. He's showing that they've got a wild amount of inventory. And the reason for that is they haven't dropped their prices like any reasonable dealer would. They're still acting and behaving like they have cornered the market. But the thing is, 2 years ago, they had a bunch of cars, used vehicles for sale, not this type of selection, but they had some. And so many dealers did not. I do remember from previously wondering, wow, and thinking to myself, thank goodness I don't only offer used vehicles, because if so, I'd have no trucks to sell. And I had never had in the last 10 years no trucks to sell. I think if I were to, to double check with my brother, I'm pretty sure I understood that he had never seen no used trucks for sale in 28 years. So inventory is at a record high. Let me get back to our main page here, our little photo booth. Time to swap up some photos. Probably have some technical issues going on to get there. So I don't want anyone getting fooled here, so I want to properly cover this, some photos for the rest of the show. I'd like to show you something that's I feel is pretty interesting. Where I'm at, it's not the end of the world. It's not crisis time, but we have now 2 spare lots. Historically, we have survived with just 1 spare lot. Now we're doing more service work than we ever have. So there's more service vehicles, but we also have 2 lots where we keep new vehicles. We are going to talk about Maverick, so that's going to be fun. But here is a Nissan dealership. So get this to go up. Thank you so much. Lovely assistant. So I've never seen this before. My local Nissan dealership is pretty thrifty. Thrifty, and I won't tell you all the stories behind it, but I can say I would not want to be a young salesman there, but pretty thrifty. And I would never have expected them to buy more parking. And this kind of looked pretty permanent. They had this area. So if you look from basically the little house here, that's basically their lot used to end here. And they reworked the ground all through here. They put up cinder blocks. So cinder blocks, they don't give them out for free. And you can see, but that by the end of this, because this isn't the end of it, I've got another picture here, but end of this, they've got 60 extra spots. So they've worked all this, and this is going to fill up. So Nissan is going to fill this up. Nissan has more inventory than they ever have. And, not just maybe, if we look overall across all of Canada and across the entire United States, we haven't peaked, and we can't officially say that this is the highest inventory ever. But I can tell you I've never seen this before in 30, well, I wasn't looking around when I was 1 year old, but in almost 40 years of living in this city, in this small city, I've never seen a dealership need to permanently buy more property. Now, to store new vehicles. And we are, leasing 2 extra lots because we have an incredible amount of vehicles at Ford. Now, does that mean that every single one of those new vehicles is an incredible deal? No. Does it mean that it's the worst time to buy ever? Absolutely not. You just need to sort of be able to filter and see what fits with your situation, because for some people, it's actually a very good time to buy. And 1 and 2 years ago, for a lot of people, was the best, for pretty much anyone buying a new vehicle, was the best time ever to buy. We're not going to see what we saw 2 years ago again. So I just want to, as we move the show forward, we'll talk more about that. So that's Carmax is still acting like they have cornered or basically own the used vehicle market. They still have that attitude of, we can ask the price that we want and people will have to pay it. And here's the big piece of advice: you don't have to pay it. Now there's vehicles everywhere. So as long as you shop around, ideally use the internet. I really like certain sites. Any site, actually Car Edge. I really like Ray and Zach, and they've created Car Edge where you can see that the vehicle you're looking at, is it above or below the market average. Here in Canada, we've got, in Quebec, we have Auto Hebdo. And for the rest of Canada, we have Auto Trader, and they often tell you, is this price a fantastic deal? Is it a good price? Is it average? Or is it overpriced? Is it over market? Sometimes you have to ask yourself questions about why it's over or under market, but we need to keep all that in mind.